People think heartbreak comes from big, explosive moments. Affairs, screaming fights, slammed doors. But sometimes it comes in whispers, quiet truths dropped so casually you almost miss the fact they just shattered your entire world. Her name's Claire. We'd been together for almost 7 years, married for 4. No kids, not for lack of trying, we just decided to wait until things were more stable financially. At least, that's what we told everyone. Truth is, she was always the one saying, not yet. And me? I waited. Because that's what I did best in our marriage, wait for her. Wait for her attention, her affection, her time. Back when we first met, she was magnetic. One of those women who lights up a room without even trying. She had this energy, this way of making everyone feel like the most important person in the world. And in the beginning, she made me feel like that too. She'd send good morning texts, laugh at my corny jokes, hold my hand everywhere we went. But slowly, almost too slow to notice, it faded. The texts got shorter. The laughs turned into sighs. The hand-holding stopped. She still smiled, still played the part of the loving wife in front of friends and family, but when the door closed behind us at night, it was like I didn't exist. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't giving her enough attention. Maybe I wasn't ambitious enough. Maybe I was just boring. So I tried harder. I picked up extra shifts, surprised her with flowers, booked weekend trips, even learned how to cook her favorite meals. And every time, she'd smile politely, say thank you, and go right back to scrolling through her phone. That's the thing nobody tells you about relationships. Silence hurts more than yelling. Indifference cuts deeper than anger. It wasn't until about 6 months ago that I started to really see it. We were at dinner with some of her coworkers, and one of them made a joke about marriage being just finding someone you can tolerate long enough until you're rich enough to trade up. Everyone laughed. But Claire, she laughed a little too hard. Hard enough that I noticed. That laugh stuck with me. After that night, I started paying attention more. The way she dressed up when she went out with friends, but barely bothered when it was just me. The way she smiled at her phone late at night when she thought I was asleep. The way she always said she was too tired when I tried to pull her close, but had endless energy for everyone else. I kept swallowing it, telling myself I was overthinking. That's what good men do, right? Give the benefit of the doubt. But the moment everything started unraveling came on a Tuesday night, around 9:30 p.m. I remember the clock because I was sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open, trying to finish some work project. Claire came in, wine glass in hand, wearing that loose sweater she always wore around the house. She leaned against the counter, scrolling her phone, not even looking at me. Out of nowhere, she said, "Do you ever think maybe we just settled?" I froze. "What do you mean?" She shrugged, still scrolling. "I don't know. Like, you're stable, dependable. You're the safe choice. But sometimes I wonder what it would have been like if I'd chosen differently." I just sat there, staring at her. My chest felt like it was caving in, but she said it so casually, like she was talking about switching brands of toothpaste. I managed to ask, "So, what am I to you then?" That's when she looked up for the first time that night. And with a half smile that didn't reach her eyes, she said, "You're my backup plan." She didn't even flinch when she said it. Didn't take it back. Just sipped her wine and walked off to the bedroom. I sat at that table long after she left, my laptop screen glowing in front of me, work forgotten. Those words kept looping in my head. Backup plan. It's one thing to suspect your wife doesn't love you anymore. It's another to hear her confirm it with a smirk and a sip of Merlot. But here's the thing, what she didn't realize in that moment was that I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg her to explain or tell me she didn't mean it. No, I sat in that silence and made a different kind of decision. If I was her backup plan, I was going to make damn sure she lost me forever. And I started planning that very night. The next morning, I woke up before Claire. She was curled up on her side of the bed, hair messy, phone still in her hand from whatever late-night scrolling she'd been doing. I just stared at her for a while. Not with love, not even with anger, just clarity. She thought she had me locked down. She thought no matter what she said or how cold she got, I'd still be there, loyal, dependable. That's the curse of being a good man. People mistake your patience for weakness. They mistake your consistency for a lack of options. But patience runs out. I showered, dressed for work, made myself breakfast. Normally, I'd make her coffee too, just out of habit. That day, I didn't. I left the pot empty and walked out without saying goodbye. She didn't even notice. That's when I knew she had no idea what was coming. Over the next few weeks, I started quietly shifting things. Not dramatic, not obvious, just little adjustments that added up. First, I separated our finances. I opened a new account under my name only, had my paycheck redirected there, and left just enough in our joint account to keep the bills covered. If she noticed, she didn't mention it. Then I started pulling away emotionally. No more asking about her day. No more initiating hugs or trying to get her attention. If she wanted to sit on the couch with her wine and her phone, fine. I'd go for a jog, or head to the garage, or just read in the den. At first, she didn't seem to care. But after a while, I noticed the small changes, how she'd glance at me when I didn't join her, how she'd linger in the doorway like she wanted me to start a conversation I never offered. And that was just step one. Step two was preparing for the exit. I started sorting through my things, boxing up what I knew was mine from before the marriage: tools, books, old keepsakes. I found a small storage unit on the other side of town and started moving things in, little by little, whenever she was out with friends. I made copies of important documents, checked my credit score, contacted a lawyer to understand exactly what leaving would look like. All the while, I kept my face calm, my tone steady. No arguments, no outbursts. Just silence. That silence started to get to her. One night, around 2 weeks into my plan, she came into the bedroom while I was reading. She sat down on the edge of the bed, crossed her arms, and said, "You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" I looked up at her, expression flat. "Yeah, just busy." She frowned. "You don't even try anymore. You don't ask me anything. You don't—" She stopped, as if catching herself before admitting something. I closed my book. "Do you care?" That shut her up. She tried to roll her eyes, brush it off, but I saw the flicker of unease. For the first time, she realized maybe I wasn't the backup plan she thought I was. The following weekend, I really tested it. We were invited to a mutual friend's barbecue. Normally, I'd drive us. This time, I told her I had other plans and she'd have to go alone. The look on her face was priceless. Shock, irritation, and underneath it, a spark of fear. "You're just not coming?" she asked. I shrugged. "Nah, have fun." And I went about my day like nothing happened. She went, of course. But she came home earlier than I expected, her mood sharp, her words clipped. She slammed cabinets in the kitchen, muttered under her breath, scrolled angrily on her phone. That was another thing I noticed. Her phone use spiked whenever she was unsettled. Like she was reaching for validation somewhere else when mine disappeared. And maybe she was. I didn't check. I didn't need to. I'd already stopped caring who she texted or why she smiled at her screen late at night. By the end of the third week, the shift in our house was undeniable. I wasn't chasing anymore. I wasn't investing in someone who openly admitted I was just a fallback option. I was building my exit, brick by brick, and she could feel it even if she didn't know what it meant. The irony? She started trying. Not much, not enough to fix anything, but little things. She cooked dinner twice, something she hadn't done in months. She asked if I wanted to watch a movie together. She even leaned in for a kiss one night, half-hearted, but still something. I let her, but inside, I felt nothing. Because once a man knows he's just a backup plan, no gesture can erase that truth. And as I lay in bed that night, her hand resting lightly on my arm, I realized something important. She wasn't trying because she loved me. She was trying because she could feel control slipping away. That's when I knew my timing had to be perfect. I wasn't just going to walk away quietly. I was going to let her believe everything was fine again. Let her relax, let her think she still had me. And then I'd disappear completely. By the fourth week, the atmosphere in the house had shifted entirely. Claire must have felt the change deep in her bones because she started acting like the woman I'd married years ago, or at least pretending to. She'd greet me at the door when I came home, kiss me quickly like she used to, and ask how my day was. She'd laugh a little too loudly at my jokes, brush her hand against mine in the kitchen, even wear the dresses she knew I liked. On the surface, it might have looked like progress. But I knew better. It wasn't affection, it was strategy. Because deep down, she was scared. Scared that the man she once called her safe choice was quietly slipping away. And she was right. One Friday night, she suggested we go out for dinner. It wasn't unusual, but the way she said it sweetly, almost nervous, made me suspicious. Still, I agreed. We sat across from each other in a little Italian place downtown. She ordered wine, smiled across the table, asked about work. For a moment, it almost felt normal. But then I caught her phone lighting up on the table. A name flashed across the screen, just a first name, male, with a heart emoji next to it. She flipped it face down instantly, but I saw the panic in her eyes. I didn't say a word. I just smiled politely and asked if she wanted dessert. Because here's the truth, I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to demand answers. That would give her power, let her spin the story, make me the insecure husband. No, I was going to let her think she was still in control. But inside, I made another decision. If she thought I was just a backup plan, maybe I wasn't the only one. Maybe she had someone else waiting in the wings, some fantasy option she flirted with on her phone late at night. And maybe that's why she'd gotten so comfortable telling me the truth in the first place, because she thought I'd never leave. That night, I lay awake in bed beside her while she slept. I thought about every little moment over the years, the laughter, the road trips, the kisses in the kitchen. And then I thought about her words, "You're my backup plan." It hit me that all of those memories, everything I'd invested, meant nothing to her if someone better came along. I was just the safety net, the fallback, the one she assumed would always be there no matter what. And that's when I knew my plan needed one more layer. It wasn't enough to just leave quietly. No, I had to make sure she truly understood what it meant to lose me, to feel the weight of her words. So I started planting seeds. I became more attentive, just slightly, asking about her day again, holding her hand in public, laughing when she made jokes. I gave her just enough to relax, enough for her to believe her little performance was working. And it did. By week 6, she was glowing, acting like we'd turned a corner, like our marriage was back on track. She even suggested a weekend getaway, her idea, not mine. That alone told me how badly she wanted to reel me back in. I agreed, of course. Played along. Let her think she was winning me over again. We drove 2 hours out of town to a lakeside cabin she'd found online. It was cozy, quiet, the kind of place that used to mean something to us. She cooked, we drank wine, we even sat by the fire holding hands like strangers playing house. At one point, she leaned against me and whispered, "I'm glad we're okay again." I kissed the top of her head and said softly, "Me too." But inside, I was already gone. Because this trip wasn't a reconciliation. It was a rehearsal, a final act before the curtain dropped. I watched her that weekend, watched the way she smiled, the way she believed everything was fine again, and I felt nothing but clarity. She thought I was her backup plan. But she had no idea she was already mine. And when we got home from that trip, I knew exactly how I was going to end it. Not with yelling, not with accusations, not even with proof of whoever she'd been texting. No, I was going to give her the one thing she never expected: silence. And then, when the timing was right, disappearance. The kind of disappearance that leaves no door open, no chance for negotiation, no opportunity to spin the story. Just absence. And I smiled to myself because I knew the moment was coming sooner than she could ever imagine. The Monday after our lake trip, Claire was practically radiant. She hummed while she made her coffee, sent me a little text during the day, something she hadn't done in years, and even cooked dinner that night. If someone else had looked in from the outside, they would have thought we were a couple rediscovering each other. They would have believed the spark was back. And maybe Claire believed it too. But me? I was already gone. That night, after she went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table in the glow of the small lamp. In front of me was a neatly written letter, folded once. Nothing dramatic. No accusations, no anger. Just a clear, final statement of truth. I wrote, Claire, the night you told me I was your backup plan, I believed you. That's when I stopped being your husband and started being your exit. I've given this marriage every chance. You gave me an answer without realizing it. You'll wake up tomorrow and see what life looks like without your backup. Take care of yourself. I placed the letter on the counter, right beside her favorite coffee mug, so it would be the first thing she saw. Then I walked into the bedroom, stood in the doorway for a long moment, and just looked at her. Peaceful, breathing steady, oblivious. The woman who once swore I was her forever and later reduced me to her safe choice. I didn't feel rage. I didn't even feel heartbreak anymore. What I felt was freedom. I picked up the duffel bag I'd been quietly packing over the last month, slung it over my shoulder, and walked out without a sound. By sunrise, I was 2 towns over, checking into a small furnished apartment I'd already rented under my own name. My name only. And just like that, I was gone. The text started before noon. First, where are you? Then, are you serious? Followed by, this isn't funny. Come home. I didn't respond. By evening, her messages shifted from confusion to anger. You're really going to leave after everything we just did? After the trip? You can't just walk away like this. But I could. And I did. The next day, the calls started. Dozens of them. Then voicemails. Some pleading, some furious, some crying. I didn't answer a single one. Because here's the thing, when a man finally chooses silence, there's nothing left for a woman like Claire to manipulate. No argument to twist. No affection to ration. No fight to win. Just absence. And absence is louder than any words I could have said. 2 weeks later, she showed up at my new place. I don't know how she found the address. Probably dug through my emails or followed a trail I hadn't covered well enough. She stood at the door, eyes red, voice cracking. Please, don't do this. That night, I didn't mean it like that. You're not just a backup plan. I was just angry, drunk, I don't know. I looked at her calmly and said, no, Claire. You meant it. Maybe not out loud, maybe not as cruelly as it came out, but you meant it. And once I heard it, I couldn't unhear it. She started crying harder. We can fix this. We can go to therapy, we can, I shook my head. You don't fix a marriage by making your partner believe they're a placeholder. You don't fix love by admitting you never saw me as your first choice. She reached for me, but I stepped back. This isn't about punishing you, I said quietly. It's about respecting myself enough not to stay where I was never truly wanted. Her hand trembled in the air before falling back to her side. For a long moment, she just stared at me, like she finally realized this wasn't a fight she could win. And then she whispered the words that confirmed everything I already knew. I didn't think you'd actually leave. I nodded once. That was your mistake. And I closed the door. I never opened it again. She tried for months, texts, calls, even mutual friends reaching out on her behalf. But I didn't respond. Because when a man finally understands he's more than someone's backup plan, he never goes back to being second choice. And in the silence that followed, I rebuilt my life. Slowly, steadily, without her. She lost me for good. And that was the one thing she never saw coming.